Hello and welcome to Beaconsfield Cycling Club Virtual Racing. Tonight's course from the Glasgow Green Cycle Club is the Innsbruckring, 35.4 kilometres long, 309 metres of climbing, 4 laps of roughly 8.8 kilometres. Tonight's race is one of the staggered starts, so categories A, B, C and D starting at 1 minute intervals. Last time I checked, about 150 odd riders competing tonight, some 17 from BCC, I think 3 in the A's, I think 8 in the B's, 4 in the C's and a couple in the D's. So I will be starting tonight in category B. It says 7 up on screen at the moment. Someone's still to arrive and join. So I think tonight's race is going to be interesting to say the least, because of the one feature in the background noise there. That was the A's just starting off at their 1 minute allotted start time at 10 past 8. So the interesting feature of tonight's race, of course, is the leg snapper, infamous hill, 450 metres long, 7% climb. That is where the race will be won and lost. And not only that, once at the top, the course then descends into quite a long downhill with a bump in the middle which causes issues on itself, but riders must be very careful with this climb. It really is an all-out sprint from the bottom to the top. Probably will take between 1 to 2 minutes for the fastest and slowest riders, and once up at the top, riders have to keep pushing to maintain a bit of speed, otherwise they'll get dropped on the downhill, where super tuck is possible for at least a few seconds. So a couple of seconds before the start, let's just join the riders in the B group, and if I can grab one there, let's see who we can get first from BCC. There's Mayhew, Smith, Langan, Davis, Campbell, Empson, all in there. Charles is in there as well. The first climb, or the first significant climb, the leg snapper, comes in at about, I think, 5.2 kilometres. So I'll try and stay with the leading riders as they reach that point, and then move backwards through the field, through the Bs, and if I can catch the Cs as well, I will do that. Riders won't be pushing it super hard. I mean, they will have a fast start, as is common in Zwift all the time, of course, but they won't be pushing really hard from this point simply because of the leg snapper itself. They'll try to save something for that. As I said, this is where the race is won and lost. Davis sitting towards the front of the pack. Must be on his 261st race now, I think, and unfortunately not much in the way of statistics tonight, as Zwift Power is broken while it's on maintenance, scheduled maintenance, until about 5 AM GMT, so that's no good for us whatsoever. So any information I give out is probably from memory and whatever I can find that's right in front of me, so I can't look up Zwift Power is the main issue. So in terms of competition tonight, in the A's we've got Stoneham Jr., of course, riding. He had that fantastic breakaway last week in the Richmond UCI course, a 16-kilometre breakaway, which was quite phenomenal to watch. Great race from him. He'll be doing well to do the same on this race. It's a bit shorter, I think, the overall distance. The hill is there, and one would think that the lighter, stronger riders would do well on the hill, but really it suits the stronger, more powerful riders, probably even the sprinters, if they can manage to hold on for a minute or so. They tend to do quite well, and of course on the downhill it will suit the larger riders, but there are plenty of opportunities for him. I think the real risk is getting stuck in a pack and staying there. I saw Lancia there as well. Have a quick look and see how he's doing. 350 watts, 356 watts, so still pushing hard, right up at FTP for these guys at the moment. Cermak is dropping off already. It's a bit of a surprise. New in the Bs, but I really wouldn't have expected him to be 12 seconds off the pace at this stage in the race, at only 1.7 kilometres in, still pushing 300 odd watts. I saw him sprint to the finish in the race on Thursday night, and he put out a good bit of power there, but that's no use if you can't keep up with the peloton. Perhaps there's something wrong. It does sometimes happen on Zwift. Have a quick look back in the field just to see if I can see any of our Category C riders. Quigley. To give you some idea, it's 300 metres behind the Bs, or the tail end of the Bs, in front of them already. But don't forget they've started a minute behind. So if you see any of the riders in the different categories within a minute of each other, effectively it means they are ahead. Move back up through the Bs and see if we can get right up to the front. Campbell there. This is a course that could suit him and Lancia actually. Both will probably complain a little bit about the hills, but this might be well suited to them. Empson in there, he's a strong rider on the hills and the flats, so this might suit his physique and his abilities. Langen moving up to the A's now. There's Stoneham. So currently 1 minute 24 seconds ahead of the Bs, the leading group of Bs behind them. So it's hard to tell at this stage who's pulling ahead and who's dropping off, but certainly they're right up at the front, and the gap is increasing between the two packs. And I think I will stay with this group now until we reach the first climb, or the leg snapper, the Danes. And Jury is in there as well, Katie, on this occasion. If I can just manage to click on her, I will. Very hard to do with the riders moving around on the leaderboard or the rider list on the right hand side. There we are, got her. 4.6 kilometres, so I think It's either this next left turn coming up. No, I think it might be a couple after that. But onto the cobble section. Once the cobbles are finished, I think there was one, maybe two turns, and then it's into the leg snapper. You should see the profile on the top right of the screen start to rise. And while we're here, just over the weekend, large field in the TT, with Tom on this occasion beating Stoneham in a time of 44.37, and an entry or a reappearance from Blackham. The weeks and a couple of months that he hasn't been appearing on Zwift seems to have done him an awful lot of good. Maybe he's been on a secret training camp, because he came in third at 47.02. So here we come now up the leg snapper. Just watch the power output from the riders. Stoneham at 9.6 watts per kilo, so Stoneham's going for it. Jury's up at 7 watts per kilo. Stoneham's back down to 7.3, so they're not going absolutely mad on this, but they are pushing. Danes though was on 8.5, just as I said that. Several power ups. The featherweight one would be of most use here, but look, you can see already the group is splitting up. Let's have a look at Jury. I think she's towards the back of the field, of this group I should say, and already you can see how the group is spreading out. Just 450 meters long, 7%. Jury at 5.3 kilometers. Her legs will be tiring quickly now. This is the key point on this climb. Got to keep pushing. Her wattage has come down. Got to keep the wattage up over this crest, and for at least 4 or 5 seconds afterwards build up some speed, take advantage of the steeper downhill bit, because there is a bump in this. It doesn't go downhill all the way. And Davis is a minute behind at 5.2. In fact, they're on the climb now. Let's just watch this with the bees. Lancia's there, Campbell, these three expected. Lancia, it's 8.8 kilometers, so he's trying to spread the field out a bit. Campbell pushing 8.5 for a moment. 550 watts I saw there. This is a hard climb at this speed, 24 kilometers per hour. This is the key point. Round the corner, starts to go downhill. This is where the super tucks will come in. Let's see if we can see who goes into a super tuck first. So it's Campbell, Lancia and Davis in this group. There we are, super tucks. There's no real need to keep pedalling. It won't gain a rider much distance unless you're pushing out ridiculous wattage. But then the whole point of this little section is to recover. Here comes the bump. Little bump here and over the top and down again into a fairly steep descent, and then that leads just at the bottom of the descent a couple of 100 meters afterwards the first, or I think the only in this course, sprint section, timed sprint section. It's up on the screen on the left hand side. No riders are in there yet, but we should start to see them populate that. So we'll try and see if we can find some of the other B riders that we've left behind. There's Charles. So he hasn't survived the first iteration of the leg snapper. He's found out exactly why it's called that. His legs have probably gone snap, but he is with Empson and Mayhew Smith. So the three of them together haven't been able to keep pace with the front of the Bs, but this lot may well stick together. Langan is 9 seconds further back, and that is ahead of him Mayhew Smith, Charles and Empson. And they are just going to come up to the sprint banner shortly, so we will stay with them. There's the sprint banner ahead. We'll see if anyone actually goes for it. They may not, of course. Might want to save themselves for the next edition of the leg snapper, and I can't say I'd blame them. Someone might pick it up though and just try to get a few points, and there are the times popping up on the left hand side. 24:13 for a BCC rider. Charles 25:09. It is a short sprint. Lance here 23:24. Langen is 24:37. So let's go right up to the front of the field again. So there are 3 groups in the Bs. Jury has not been able to hang on at first iteration of the leg snapper. Her leg snapped by the looks of it, but she's a strong rider nonetheless, and I suspect her strategy may well now be to just slowly drift back to the Bs. She rides well with this group of leading Bs, and let's find out how Stoneham is doing. Stoneham and Danes still in this group at 9 kilometres, so I'm just trying to keep a track of the second lap and when the leg snapper comes back again. So it should be around 11 kilometres if I'm calculating it all correctly in my head. I'll just check that and make sure. So this is the leading group of A's. I'm not sure who that is. A couple of 100 metres behind them. Have a quick look and see if we can work out. Might be the B's coming. No, I think it's just it's hard to tell. No, it might be a couple of A's actually. So we'll just have a look at the start of the leg snapper. We won't follow these riders up. We'll move back and have a look at the B's, but just so that I can confirm the exact kilometre it starts on. Slight downhill section, 240 watts. So riders are really need to spend a lot of time, or as much time as they possibly can, recovering once they've been up the leg snapper. So this is one reason why they're not going flat out right now. On the first lap, easily demonstrated the way the group just split right apart. It's unlikely that the leading group will catch up with. They might catch up with some of the rear riders, but certainly nothing beyond that. Not at 35.4 kilometres. So there should be a left, then a right hand turn. So riders now at 10.7 kilometres, 14 minutes in. That is the leading group. Stoneham in 5th, looking comfortable. 174 beats per minute in his heart, which I think for him his average is around 171. So he's working quite hard, but not going well beyond threshold, which is the key at this stage. And to give you some indication, Stoneham's at 4.5 watts, 5.2 watts per kilo, Danes at 3.64, 11.4 kilometres. So Stoneham is at the front of this field. I don't think he'll be thinking about an attack at this stage. He may just be pushing the other riders just to see who's likely to come with him, but they're having a similar thought. They're not letting him get away. So Jury is now 57 seconds behind. 177 watts. She's not pushing it. She's certainly not going flat out. I'm just having a look to see if I've got any. Yeah, so average wattage for her typically is around 206 watts. Just having a quick check forward again. This is where it gets difficult, as the riders on the course pass each other in close proximity, and then Zwift reports the numbers incorrectly for a moment. Here is the front group coming into, is this the leg snapper now? Well, if it isn't coming up, I'm not sure where it is. Gone. Oh, it's coming shortly. Have a look at the profile here where my cursor is moving across the screen. At 13.3 kilometers. I just want to get a distance for that, and then we could see if we could pick up some of the other riders. Just saw Telford go past on the screen there. I'm not sure where he is at this stage. I'll have a look a little bit later on. Just try and get Stoneham on the screen. There he is. So left hand bend, right hand bend across the river. Just coming up for 14 kilometers, 18 minutes, 27 seconds. This is the leading group. Still with Stoneham, Danes, and now we come into the leg snapper. Here it is. This is the start. Right hand bend, power ups, aero, featherweight. Was that the aero one? Drafting, featherweight. We'll let them ride. 9-10 watts per kilo. Danes on 7.9. We'll just move back, see how Jury's doing. And this just... there she is. Just about to cross the river, left and a right hand bend, and then she too will be on the leg snapper. So the Bs have now caught up or closed the gap on Jury by some 15 seconds. But don't forget, they started 1 minute after the A's. And we will go back to them shortly. Just let Jury get round the corner and onto the leg snapper. And then we'll go back to the leading group of B riders. And there's Jury coming onto the leg snapper now. So a 41 second gap backwards to Davis, Lancia, if I can get on one of them. There we go. Let's see how these guys manage to hold the pace on the second time round the leg snapper. So Davis and Campbell are there. Lancia's there as well. I just saw him towards the rear. There he is. So let's have a look from Lancia's perspective. Power ups coming out 8%, 630 watts. It's virtually flat out, uphill. How is it going to change the order? He's doing very well. He's overtaken Davis. Jury's 9 seconds away, 8 seconds away. Campbell I've lost in the mix for the moment. I think he's behind, so Lance is showing his real strength. This is what he should be good at. Huge power over a short distance, but can he hold it right to the top? That's the question. I'm not so sure that he's going to. Campbell is there as well. Lance's power is dropping off. This is the key point though. This is where riders need to give a little extra kick. Push hard here. Get towards the front of that group. Get up to speed. Get in the super tuck once they get to, is it 58 kilometers per hour? Certainly now anyway. Looks like, can't see who is in a super tuck. Need to stop pedaling, guys. There's no need to be pedaling right here. That's flattening out a bit. This is the little one of the little bumps. It's a very short super tuck, but it is worth getting that right. Just pushing up the top of the leg snapper, round the corner, 3-4 seconds of extra effort, get into the super tuck, rest, let the heart rate recover for a few seconds, and then off again. So Lancier, Davis, Campbell now ahead of Jury, who will hopefully hang on to this group. Seems to be at the moment 175 watts, 15.6 kilometers, 22 minutes 31 seconds into the race. Not quite halfway, but not far. So 22 minutes, let's say 45 minutes for a finish. And let's go further back in the field and see where some of the other riders are now. Charles at 15.5 kilometers, 240 watts, and I think he is with Empson and Langen. No, Empson still. Langen's 13 seconds further back. Mayhew Smith I would expect to be here. Let's see if I can find him. I'm just trying to work out the time gap to the rest of the bees. I think it's about 36 seconds. So Empson and Charles, and there's Mayhew Smith as well, as expected. Here's the sprint section. Anyone going to try it this time? Nope, doesn't look like it. Just maintaining the pace. Not a bad decision. It's a very short sprint. I'm not sure what benefit it really gives for the overall race, unless you want the sprinter's jersey, which, if that's the only one you can get, not a bad thing to do. And have a quick look at Langen by himself. I've seen him ride by himself quite a few times, but he does keep going. Certainly his heart rate's up there at 172, 173, so it's not through any lack of effort. And Langen is at, just before I leave, so 25 seconds behind Empson and Mayhew Smith at 16.3 kilometers. And then we do have some other B riders, if I can find them. Have a quick look further back in the field. Quigley, 14.4 kilometers, 22 minutes 56 seconds. No other BCC riders around him. There's one rider in a super tuck. I'm not sure which one's which. Is that Quigley? It might be. Looks as if he's got the A-team kit on. I think that's the A-team kit. The blue, the rider in the blue in the middle. So he's taking advantage of the super tuck, which is nice to see. Another push here before they ride towards the sprint. Mustn't forget some of our other riders. May, he's been up this leg snapper many times. He knows exactly what's expected here, and he's riding with Jones. Which Jones? Peter Jones. Just drifting a little bit away, and Measham's there. So we've got Measham, May, and Jones at 14.2 kilometres. Could be a good group if they stick together. Measham, I've heard, is not on top form today, but he seems to be riding quite well. Jones, always strong, always comes back when you least expect him to as well, so he's doing quite nicely. Let's see how they manage the top of this hill though. This is the key part, as I keep saying. A push here really does make a big difference. Look at the gap that's opened up just in 5 seconds there. And then this is a gap that becomes almost impossible to close down at these sorts of speeds. 57 kilometers per hour. He may do it, but very difficult, very difficult. Oliver White. This will be the second time up the leg snapper for him. 3.5 watts per kilo, heartbeat 169. Not pushing at his max yet, I don't think, from memory. A little bit left in him. Let's see how he manages the top of the climb. About halfway up at this stage, and behind him, 55 seconds behind him, the other contender in category D tonight. I think it's just the two of them, Telford. So I think tonight I've managed to find every rider in the field, which is quite nice when the field isn't too large and it's not very short laps where it becomes very difficult to identify individual riders. Telford just coming into the start of the leg snapper. Go back to White as he rounds the corner at the top, the right hand bend. Is he going to take advantage of this? 266 watts, 250, 270, 239, 280, 245, so he has just relaxed. 200, yep, he's relaxed. If he'd held that 270, 280, it's going back up a little, back down again, so he has relaxed a bit. And again, look at the gap that's forming ahead of him very quickly. Let's see if we can get back to the front of the field, see how well they're doing, where they are. Langan just on the way past. I haven't seen Shannon tonight. I mean, maybe he isn't racing. It'd be very unusual if he wasn't. But I didn't see him on the start list, and I haven't seen him go past in the rider list on the right hand side. Stoneham, here we go, front of the field. I would imagine, can't for 1 second think that Stoneham's dropped off the front. And are his fellow teammates still with him? Let's have a look and see. Danes is still there. Danes is a good strong all-round rider, good on the hills, good downhill. Doesn't make much difference on Zwift, of course, but a good rider downhill. He'll have some difficult decisions to make here. He likes to attack on hills, but he has Stoneham to contend with, who likes to do much the same. Danes is a slightly heavier rider, not by much. Maybe we'll give him a slight advantage downhill. I think tactically you need to play this well. In fact, both will. I suspect. Hard to call this one. Danes has certainly beaten Stoneham in the past, and Stoneham has certainly beaten Danes. So both sort of average around 4+ watts per kilo, 4.2, 4.3 sometimes. Saw Danes averaging 4.7 the other day, so they're certainly right in the ballpark for this group. So 23 kilometers. And here they are on the leg snapper again. 8.1 watts per kilo from Stoneham. Danes 8.9. Some feather up, power ups. Is the group going to stick together? Let's have a look. Sternum on 10 watts per kilo. This is a flat out effort, 560 watts, heart rate at 200. He's one of the very, very few riders who can reach that sort of heart rate. Now here's the key bit. What's going to happen? So he's holding the power. This is a good move. He's dropped off there, 130. This is where you need to push. Just for a couple of seconds to get up to speed, to be the... Doesn't matter. It's not really about overtaking the rest of the field. It's just about getting up to speed so that you can spend an extra few seconds in the super tuck and allow yourself to recover every couple of seconds. Look how quickly his heart rate's dropping in just 6 seconds, down from 200 to 187. That's all it takes. But the group's staying together. Dane's in there as well, so moving quickly backwards. If I can now try and catch the bees, in the front of the bees. There was Davis, Campbell, Lancia. Where is Lancia? Is he in this group? I'm sure he is. Just can't see him at this stage. Leg snapper is coming up for them. Any sign of Lancia? Davis and Campbell here, 22.5 kilometres, 31 minutes, 30 seconds into the race. Empson I saw 35 seconds further back. Lancia, where are you? Yeah, I saw it. He's just in, he is in this pack. There he is. Quick look at the start of the leg snapper. I saw Charles coming up there as well. Now disappeared on the screen. Jury's in there in this group as well, I think. Looks like it, yes. And here we go. Is this lap? This is lap 3, I think. Is it lap 3? Must be lap 3 at 23.1 kilometres. Who is going to push it? So big difference in terms of how these guys are riding it compared to the A's. I'm not talking about power output, at least on a relative basis, but I wouldn't expect them to put out the same kind of power as the A's, but they are not pushing as hard. There's no doubt about that, although Campbell's on 580 watts, just as I said that, but as a group they're not pushing as hard. Let's see what happens over the top. Is anyone going to push here? Campbell's come off the power and he's gone back. He's holding it. Experienced rider, so he'll want to get it in the super tuck quickly, and with a rider his size and Lancia as well, this really plays to their needs. Trying to move further back in the field and not miss one of the riders. Jury looks as if she's lost a few seconds. 8 seconds now. She's fallen off the back of this B group as well. 150 watts. 111. I don't think I've ever seen a number that low from her. Now I did see Charles, but if I can just move slowly back in the field, I might see him again. So there he is. Empson, Charles, Mayhew, Smith. Oh, he's lost 7 seconds. Dropped away from Empson and Charles. Looks as if the leg snapper has done him in as well. So looks as if Empson and Charles are going to have a race on. So Charles, as I must be saying every week, only recently moved up to the Bs, but is getting stronger or more tactically proficient every week, and it shows quite clearly, moving up the rankings slowly but surely. back with Mayhew Smith, and Mayhew Smith at 24.4 kilometres, 35 minutes. 2 minutes behind him at 23.3 kilometres. Langen still by himself. And I don't think we'll see anyone else. Quigley still in the middle of the seas, 22.3 kilometres. And as I keep saying, don't forget 1 minute apart for the start of each of these different categories. Just got to say 203 watts. It went up to 266. Quick look at the start of the leg snapper for this group. The right hand bend, crossing the bridge over the river, 22.7k. And now the right hand bend as they start the leg snapper. How is Quigley going to manage this? 270 watts, 3.4 watts per kilo, 4.1. And it may be noticeable as we come down through each category and get further back in the field, each of these groups puts less and less of a push into the climb. Most of these riders will be fairly content just riding with the group that they're in. But there's a great opportunity to close gaps on this climb as well. 4.2 watts per kilo, 335 watts, 175 beats per minute, nice cadence, 92. I'll move back towards the front of the field, see how the A's are doing. Charles on the way past at 26.1. About 80 metres of climbing left. It was a quick calculation. Davis. Jury has the green jersey. Nice to see. Here is the front of the field, with Stoneham at 29.3 kilometres. Now, is Danes, I was just going to say, is Dane still there? But he is, which is what I expected. About 15 riders in this group. Stoneham towards the rear of it at this stage, but that's nothing to worry about. I think he's just well positioned, sitting comfortably, 213 watts within the pack, so they do need to watch that the bees don't catch them. That does happen on occasion. So they are now catching up with the rear of the D field, which was sort of expected on the last lap. Maybe it's happened a little bit earlier than I thought, but happening nonetheless. And in fact, I think I made a mistake. They've actually passed the back of the D field. Yes, they have. So around 5 kilometres remaining. This is where it will start to get interesting. Leg snapper coming up again. Last chance to make your move. So I will try and capture the A's and the B's, but I think what I'll do is get this group of A's on the start of the leg snapper, see if anything happens, and then I'll move back to the B's and catch that group as well. So here we go. Right hand bend coming up, nearly there. Coming up for 31 kilometres, 40 minutes, 40 44 seconds, 44 kilometers per hour, so they're still moving along quite nicely. Stoneham's heartbeat 182, so he's got roughly 20 beats in reserve if he needs it, and I'm sure he will. Approaching the town centre, there's paved section, then it's across the river, couple of bends and up the leg snapper. This is what will make the difference in the final stages of this race. The final bit of cobble. It's quite short. Still a small incline though, 1%. And the cobbles themselves do slow riders down, even in Zwift. Not by much, but it certainly has an impact. So Stoneham taking advantage of the draft, nicely positioned in the bunch. Danes is almost right next to him in the black. And here we go, round the corner. Watch the power on the right hand side. Let's see who kicks it off first. Stoneham immediately 10.7 watts per kilo. He's got a bit of a sticky draft to get by, but he's moving up through the field. He sees this as his chance. Danes is responding. (10, 11, 9). Most of the riders holding 10 kilometers per hour, 10 watts per kilo. Stoneham back up there, dropped off a little bit, and he's just pushed again. Some featherweight power ups. Hang on, Stoneham, hang on. Danes is just next to him as well, so they've moved slightly to the rear of this small bunch. Here's the crucial bit. What can they do here? Now's the time to push. He's up at 201 beats, 202 beats per minute. He's working hard, very hard. He's moving forward in the field. That's a great crest of that hill. Look at the difference it's made. Dropped off on the hill itself, did a push over the top and moved all the way back forward again. In 5th position. That was a great move. Well done. Let's see if we can catch the bees coming up behind. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Here we go. Campbell, Jury. Sorry, not Jury. Campbell, Davis and Lancia. That's what I meant to say. They're at 30.8 kilometers. So the time gap to the A's, if I can work it out possibly. Now I'll get caught up clicking on the B's and the C's and the D's that are all sort of mixed up in this group at this stage. So I'll stay with Lancia if I can get onto him. About 15 riders in this group, just about to go through the left hand turn and cross the river for their last go at the leg snapper. Great name for a climb, that. Across the cobbled section now. .290 watts from Lancia. 3.5 watts per kilo, 3 watts per kilo, saving energy as much as they can. Here we go. And as the cobbles finish, cross over the river. And the noise thankfully quietens down a little bit. Anyone behind? No one behind them. Power ups coming out already right at the start of the climb. Let's see now. Who is pushing? Davis right up the front He's going for it. Campbell 7 watts per kilo. Lancia 7.6. They all know what needs to be done here. Lancia is still holding a higher output. Who can hang on the longest? Coming up to the right hand bend at the top. Staying with Lancia because he seems to be behind Davis and Campbell at this stage, or behind, just slightly further back in the group. He's right up there next to Davis. He's pulled 1 second out on Campbell. This is the key moment. Let's have a look at Campbell. So Campbell has stayed with the group. That's a good move. Taking advantage of his strengths. It's nice to see. This is the slight bump before it starts to descend again. This is this next section. So Davis is still there. Lancia is still there. I'm going to stay with these guys now until the finish. Who's going to finish first? It's a difficult one to call. I'm going to sit with Lancia. I think it might be him. So he is currently right next to Davis and Campbell. Some riders dropped off the back from this group. That's the effect that the leg snapper has. And this group actually have done well just to stay together. Spread out a little at the top of the climb, then all made the effort, came back. Lancia is on the front of the group. It's not where I want to see him right now if he's my prediction to win this from the club. Just relax a bit. Davis is in there managing his power very carefully. In fact, 2 more riders have just caught up. That's a good push from them to bridge that gap. That's the sprint banner. No one going for the sprint, no great surprise. About 1400 meters to go. See the swarm of yellow shirts in there. So Campbell, Davis, Lancia, 34.2 kilometers. What's going to happen? Unfortunately, I can't look up at Zwift to see who's won the A race, but it's not working. One kilometre. I don't think there's a Flamme Rouge on this course. So they're now all just waiting for the bunch sprint. Positioning themselves, Davis towards the rear of the field, or this group I should say. Someone's just popped out the back there, I'm not sure who that is. Where is Campbell? I'm assuming he is still here. Quick look at Davis. Where is Campbell? There he is, up the front. Okay, so we have Campbell in the lead, Lancia, then Davis by fractions of a second. There is the banner up ahead. They're going to start to wind it up now, guys. Now's the time to go. Lancia 6.2 watts per kilo. Davis sitting on 4. Looks like Davis is going to be the one that drops out the back. Campbell is really desperate to beat Lancia. Lancia loves to beat Davis. No real sprint happening yet. There we go. Lancia, 12 watts per kilo. Is he going to get Campbell? I think he might just... hard to say. Can't tell. I think he did. I think he beat both. I think he beat Campbell. I'm not sure about Davis. And we'll move back to the field, see if we can catch the next group of riders coming in. Langen. I just saw Mayhew Smith. This should be the Empson Charles Mayhew Smith. So it is. Something's happened here. So this is Empson at 35.1 kilometers coming up towards the finish. Charles has dropped off that group. Looks as if he's riding with one other rider 17 seconds further back. We'll watch Empson cross the line, then move back to Charles very quickly. So Charles hasn't been able to hold the pace with Empson. I thought he might. Jury looks as if she's just about to cross the line. We'll just have a quick look. She is. So we'll go back to Empson at 35.4 kilometers. Charles has now dropped down to 22 seconds further back. As Empson going for it, winding it up a little bit, not too much. Jury's put in a sprint, 8.8 watts per kilo. And as Empson just cruises across the line at 0 watts. Never seen that before. Need to make more of an effort. Here comes Charles. Nice to see he's putting in a great sprint there. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. And crosses the line. Mayhew Smith is about a further minute and a half back, I think. And we'll just watch him cross or approach the line. There's no other BCC riders. So we'll have a final look through the field, see who else we could see. So 35 seconds further back than Mayhew Smith is Langen at 33.9 kilometers. Still riding by himself, but still going. If we can pick up the rest of the BCC lot. Let's have a look and see who still remains on course. Quigley by himself. Let's have a look. Yes, no one behind, no one in front at 32.7 kilometers. And I'd like to see where May, Jones and Co are, if I can find them. This is actually a group going up the leg snapper. There is May at 29.6. Who else is with him? Jones is a minute further up the road. .6 kilometers Jones and 29.7 for May. Jones should be, just try and check where he is, not on the leg snapper yet. He's got one more iteration of that to go. Or has he just gone up it? No, he's just coming to the foot of it now. So he's got one more iteration of the leg snapper. May also has as well. In the Ds, White seems to be, it's hard to tell, haven't been following in close detail, but seems to be up towards the front of the Ds. He's done very well in the category D recently. And if he keeps that up, will find himself getting promoted pretty quickly. So unfortunately I can't bring you the results for category A, as I said, Zwift is not working. But nonetheless, thank you very much for watching this evening, and the next race on the 20th, I think it is, 20th of November, Thursday evening. See you all.